Hello and welcome to this special show, American Elections on Max Maharashtra. And today we have our old friend Ravi Marathe from America. And latest developments are going to be discussed. And Ravi, the first question obviously is about the new candidate selected by Democratic Party for the forthcoming elections, along with Kamala Harris, is Tim Waltz. So the first question would be, tell us something about this new nominee, because a lot of developments have taken place in last 15 days or 20 days. And then Kamala Harris has finally selected, rather Democratic Party has finally selected the name of Tim Waltz. So what's your take on this? How would you react to this, about this man and this selection?
Yeah, Samiran, thanks for that. Thanks for having me over here. Just on the, as a starting point, one small correction. His pronunciation of the last name is Tim Walz. There is a
Waltz.
Z. There is a Z
Okay.
there.
Okay. Waltz.
Walz. Yeah.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
yeah. So Tim Walz has been nominated as a vice presidential candidate now by Kamala Harris yesterday. All of us we know that. Now, some of the factors which we need to understand in terms of how he came to be selected as that candidate. Now, last time when we discussed about some other names, like we discussed about Mark Kelly, or we discussed about Shapiro from Pennsylvania, or Bashir. Now, the reason why Kamala Harris probably ended up having Tim Walz as a candidate is the donor lobby. It is on record that donor lobbies were against Mark Kelly. They were against Mark Kelly because he has been on record as a sort of a anti-labor stance, anti-union stance. And Democratic Party has a big donor and big supporter in terms of automobile workers union. Now these automobile workers union are not are all these people are employees of big American car makers like Ford and the Dodge and other American car makers. So this union was actually against Mark Kelly because of his some previous comments or stance about the unions. So that resulted into a little bit of a problem with Mark Kelly. Now, as far as Shapiro is concerned, it was everything was good, but he was considered as a sort of an extremist as far as his stance about Israel is concerned. We have to remember he himself is a Jew. So obviously he will have sympathy for Israel in this conflict. But having sympathy is one part. But he described those who were protesting against the Palestinian conflict. He described them as terrorists. So that came to be a very strong sort of a opinion, and that would have been used by Republican Party against Democratic Party. So as a result, these two names went out. Bashir was also there, but honestly, his name was never prominent amongst the race. The race was honestly between these three people: Mark Kelly, Shapiro, and Tim Walz. And finally, Tim Walz ended up having the candidacy. Nothing but he probably doesn't have too many negatives about him.
Right. We also heard, I was just going through the newspapers and some media bulletins early this morning after announcement of his candidature, Tim's candidature. I think they
Mhm.
have received some more than $20 million. You were referring about some funds and the lobby of fundraising also. So
Yeah.
there are so many lobbies. We have discussed this in earlier episodes. So that was one of the reasons you said. But one of the very interesting things is this man was a teacher in his earlier life. In his
Exactly.
teenage or 20, when he was 24, 25, he had served in American armed forces also. So
Right.
what
Right.
about his background? Would you like to enlighten us something?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Tim Walz comes from a rural background, and he was born and brought up in a state called Nebraska. Now, Nebraska is a typical state where it is, very thinly populated. It's a big state, but very thinly populated. I mean, you can imagine how thinly populated it is if I tell you that the whole population of the state is just 19 lakh people. 1 point
Oh,
yeah, so 1.9 million. So it is that thinly populated, and it is known as corn husker state of USA. It is known for the corn cultivation, the agriculture part. So basically it's a completely rural area of United States. That's number one. He was brought up there, so his total background is rural. And then once as part of his adult life, as you mentioned, he worked as a teacher, and more importantly he worked as a teacher of social studies. He wasn't a teacher of science or maths. He was a teacher of social studies. And then he was also part of National Armed Guard, and he served there for 24 years. He rose there to up to the rank of sergeant major, which is a very high rank. So that was his background. But apart from that, one important part of his background is his political background. And what happened was 2006, he has been always a Democrat. But in 2006, he shifted to from Nebraska to Minnesota, and then he decided to contest the Congress election. But when he decided to contest the Congress election, he decided to contest it from a Republican district, Republican stronghold. And more importantly, he won that election. And not only that election in 2006, but he won that Congress election 6 consecutive times. So
oh,
he was a member of parliament in our parlance, in our Indian language. He was member of parliament for 6 times for 12 consecutive years. So that's more important in terms of political background. Now, after he served for 6 years as Congress representative, he decided to contest for governor's post, and he won that post in 2018. And not only that, he also won it again in 2022. So that shows his popularity amongst his voters. Now, some of the key achievements, one of the things which I must mention in terms of his background is, as I mentioned, he's a true rural Democrat. Now, why it needs to be mentioned? Because as you would see, the Democratic Party as a tradition is majorly supported in urban and semi-urban areas. The rural area of USA has been always conservative, has been always supporting Republican. So to have someone who is from rural America was very important for Democratic Party to give that message to the rural population that we have selected a candidate which is amongst which is one amongst you. That is one thing. Second, he is chairman of Democratic Farmer Labor Union. So again, the rural focus comes into picture, the farmer focus, the labor focus. So that is his background. He's also president of the Democratic Governors Association. So throughout USA, there are many states which have democratic governors, and he's president of that association. So that's his background in terms of his personal career and political career. As far as his personal career, there is one important part which I must mention is he was having some issues in terms of his wife. His wife was having issues in terms of having a child, and they decided to go for this IVF treatment. So he's on record saying that he understands the struggle of those parents who want to conceive, who want to have child, and who want to have this alternative treatments made available. And
well,
the important part is Republican Party is totally against such treatments.
right. Ravi, I remember one of the sentences of Kamala Harris, which she said yesterday, as far as Indian time is concerned, yesterday while introducing this man, Tim, Kamala Harris has made two statements that this person, this leader, he will help unite our nation, that is America. And second sentence of Kamala Harris was that this man will strengthen the middle class, which is her one of her mottos. So I think, as far as we know, and I have read about this man, one thing, he is a troubleshooter within the party and the crisis whenever it
Mhm.
comes. And then another parties, he is in alignment of democratic policy, in alignment with Biden's policy as far as foreign policies are concerned. and also is in sync with Kamala Harris. So all these 3 points, I think, will help him in working together. And as we discussed earlier, also from that color point of view, from that fundraising point of view. But I want to ask you another question. How would you compare in between two candidates of vice presidents? That is Kamala Harris candidate and Trump's candidate, JD Vance. So how would you compare them? Their abilities, their age, their experience,
Right,
executive
right, right,
experience.
right.
How would you compare them?
Yeah, I mean, by having Tim as vice president candidate, I think Kamala Harris has scored a big point over there, big, plus point for Democratic Party, because once, in spite of his 39 age, the way he has presented himself over last 3 4 weeks, it has not gone down well with the ordinary people. I mean, within 3 weeks, it was jokingly said yesterday that he within 3 weeks he has made enemies of various segments of society. For example, he called all the ladies who are without kids. He called them as childless cat ladies. Just as an example, so he has been on record in making all kinds of statements which are derogatory. I mean, that's typical of Trump. But as a result, he has created a lot of enmity within different segments of the society. Now, on the contrary, if you compare Tim Walz with Vance, it's exactly the opposite. Tim Walz is a person who is liked by all. He is liked by even his opposition parties. Now, let me give you one simple example. In the state where he is governor, he doesn't have majority in the Senate. The Senate is controlled by Republican. So whenever he has to implement some policies, he has to ensure that he carries opposition along with him. And it is on record that he has been able to do that, and he has been able to implement policies in consultation with conservatives. So that's a very important point. And that's where probably Kamala Harris was saying she is looking to unite the America, because the way Donald Trump goes about his business, it is always conflict. It is always division. And he
Okay.
so that's where his plus point is there. He's liked by all the people.
Okay. Ravi, I would like to draw your attention to the strategies and the directions of the campaigning tours, and the design of the campaign. Tell us something about what is the major difference and what are the aspects which differentiate from Trump's campaign and Kamala Harris campaign, number one. And number two, how Kamala Harris is going to convince the middle class, just not by appointing a team as a vice presidential candidate, but some other communication ways which she is trying to communicate to the middle class, to the rural class, as you said, she need more support from rural
Mhm.
class, not only from urban class. What would be her strategy to communicate her policies if she would become president? What she would do for the middle class?
Right. Now, as far as the middle class is concerned, typically the middle class is normally of liberal nature in terms of views. For example, take abortion rights. Now, for abortion rights, usually the middle class will have a liberal view wherein they believe that women should have their right to decide whether they want to continue their pregnancy or not. Just as one example, or the other major example is gun control. Now, gun
Hmm.
control is another example where middle class has probably a different view compared to the conservative party. Now, these are the two examples where Kamala Harris would like to send a message to the middle class that I'm with you in terms of these important issues. Let us work together to achieve something in terms of gun control. Let us work together to achieve something in terms of abortion policy. So, just these are just two examples. So, the strategy of Kamala Harris will be to talk about issues which are close to the heart of middle class, and try to appeal them. Now, compare this with Republican Party. Now, Republican Party and Trump, they are relying on division. They are not talking about policies. Their entire focus is, there is a term called othering. Now, the othering term means other. Other means we are one and you are different. That's called othering. Now, the othering terminology is used by Republicans, and the othering is based on factors like caste, ethnicity, religion, economic position. So these are the parameters on which Trump believes in trying to divide the society. He will say Kamala Harris is, indirectly he will say she is black, and then she will say he will say she's a woman. And so the reason is he's trying to distinguish himself from others. Okay, but that is where Trump policy is division, whereas Kamala Harris is exactly trying to send an opposite message that no, I'm not trying to divide the society, I'm trying to unite it. For me, race, ethnicity, color, economic class, they do not matter. We work as one American society.
Right. Another question is about the foreign policy. When we say that Kamala Harris is in alignment with Biden policy or Democratic policy, and even this new person team is also on the same line.
Mhm.
But next 4 to 5 months are very much important as far as the international politics, intercontinental conflicts, and bilateral trade. These 3 points are very important. And of course, trade is going to be affected because of the conflict in Middle East, because
Mhm.
of American relations with these Middle East countries, then of course the China and
Yeah.
some Asian countries. Even this Bangladesh situation has worsened, and this is going to affect on Asian politics also, as far as India is concerned or Pakistan is concerned. So, how Democratic Party looks at it? How Kamala Harris, you think, would react in her campaign about her foreign policy? Totally in alignment with Joe Biden, or she is trying to convey some other message as far as her future policies, as far as these foreign countries and foreign relations, diplomatic relations are concerned?
As far as foreign policy is concerned, it's matter of continuity, and
Hmm.
Kamala Harris will continue what Biden has been trying to do. And as far as in terms of foreign policy, one of the most important factors for USA is its relationship with NATO. Now we all know that Trump believes in not having a cordial relationship with NATO. He believes in creating problems for them, and rather he's trying to say that Putin is good. Now, whereas Biden is exactly opposite, he's traditionally following the American policy of supporting NATO, being in alliance with them, being in on good terms with them, and that will continue. As far as Middle East is concerned, America has been always following a policy of supporting Israel that we all know. At the same time, we know that they have stakes, economic stakes in other countries, and rather other countries have also economic stakes in having USA support. For example, Saudi Arabia. You take the oil supply. So what I'm trying to convey here is when it comes to Kamala Harris, there will be continuity in terms of her policies. In terms of specifically the Asian part of it, probably over there the Asian heritage will help countries like India, because all said and done, she has those genes in her blood, which are Asian. In fact, there is a funny part of her conversation when she talks. Makes informal conversation. She talks about some terminology which is absolutely typical Indian, and which most Americans do not understand. For example, she talks about things failing from coconut tree. Now what it means is, probably in our language we understand that okay, nothing is falling from tree, the money doesn't come grow on tree, and those kind of that kind of terminology. So she has as that sort of a soft corner, let me put it that way, for Asian countries, and that will definitely reflect in India's relationship with USA.
One more question. If you remember last time when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited United States of America, when Trump was contesting election for the top slot. So that time, Prime Minister Modi had taken some rallies, his own rallies,
Mhm.
in which one or two rallies he was accompanied by Trump himself. He
Right.
appeared in that rally and then huge response from Indians and all that. So how exactly really the Indians who are settled there for more than 2 to 3 decades, and how the Indian youth who will be probably voting for the first time in this election. So maybe the figure is not much bigger or like that, but still Indians carry a lot of importance in this sort of campaigns. So my first part of the question would be how Kamala Harris look at Indians. Will the same policy as far as the Indian students, then Indian industrialists and Indian experts in various industries who want to serve offshore jobs, how does she look at it? And second part, how Indians look at these two candidates of Democratic Party?
Mhm. Yeah. So let me first take the first part of your question. And that is, let's be very brutally honest. It's not about India. It's about what in US economy requires. Tomorrow, if Bill Gates, just as an example, if Microsoft or Google, they go to, they lobby and they create a lobby for more H1 visas, government will probably say yes to it. Because at the end of the day, interest of American businesses is at the heart of whole thing. So it's not about India, because we are talking about students coming from India, but we have to remember equal number of students, or probably more number of students, come from China, and there are people coming on employment visas from other countries as well. So what I'm trying to convey here is, whenever such policies are decided, probably it's not the India angle, it's probably the economy angle. It's probably what the big industrialists, big businesses, rather big technology world like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, what this technology world needs. And the policy of the government is usually based on those needs and not based on what probably China wants or what probably India wants. So that's my answer to your first question. The second part of the question is, how are typically Indians looking at it? Now, unfortunately, what happened is, during Trump's presidency, the division which happened amongst overall American society, and that is because of the divisive politics of Trump and Conservative Party. That division, to some extent, occurred within Indian society as well. So today, you will find some people who are conservative amongst Indian. In fact, probably it would not be appropriate for me to name some people, but you would be, let me tell you, there is someone from our college, okay, that though now her son is actually contesting Congress election on Republican ticket. So what I'm trying to convey here is, there is a division amongst Indians, but as I mentioned previously, traditionally Indian community is behind Democratic Party as a majority.
But let me ask you, I don't know whether this is a proper way and proper time to ask this question to you or not. Like last time, do you think so that Indian leadership will at least give a sign or some indication by being present there with one of these two major candidates, Trump and Harris, in some sort of rallies? Like last time, Prime Minister Modi was there and Trump was accompanied by,
Mhm.
he was accompanied in this rally when Prime Minister was there. Do you think so? This time also some sort of the same scene would reoccur, or it will be a replication of that thing, or being Indian origin or something like that? This time the leadership will support or indirectly indicate the support to Kamala Harris. What could be the scenario? What is your take on that?
I don't think there will be a direct sort of a Indian participation in the whole process. In the sense, I don't think any prominent Indian leader like Prime Minister or any other prominent personality visiting USA and having some kind of rally like Trump had with Modi. that seems not plausible at at this stage. So that's my answer, simple answer to your question.
Okay, okay. Let's not go into details because still 88 or 87 days to go
Right.
for the last voting day, that is 5th of November. So,
Yeah.
my last question to you in this episode would be, what is the line of action of campaigning as far as Democratic Party is concerned? Because still the convention has to take place, and that convention had officially the declaration process. So, what is that? And second thing, what is the line of action of that debate? Because last time you had said that Trump had refused to take part in the debates, and again he had changed his mind. So what are the reasons for this change in his mind? Is he really scared, or is he really under pressure that Kamala will take more mileage if he refuses, or is he really overconfident? What is the reason why he has again accepted and again said that no, 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 I will participate in the debate? So that is one. And second thing is, what is the line of action as far as the Democratic Party's internal party process is concerned?
Right. Now, the first question, first answer about the debate. Now, all of us, we know 10th September, Biden was supposed to be having the second debate with Trump. Now, Trump has now categorically refused to participate in that. He has declared it that I'm not going to participate in that debate. Now, there is a one funny aspect which has happened. Trump is supported by Fox News. Fox News is
Yes.
only the one main media channel which constantly supports Trump. Now, Trump has made arrangement with Fox News, and he has declared that he's ready to have a debate with Kamala Harris on 4th of September, and that will be hosted by Fox News. Now, obviously, this looks like a little bit childish because you had a 10th of September debate which was decided well in advance, and now you're refusing to participate there. And on the other hand, you want Kamala Harris to participate in your own planned debate. So that's not going down well with the common man or the middle class voters over here. In fact, there is a one, Trump has got into a little bit of trouble because of his typical way of talking. When Biden was there, he once said it in front of cameras that, okay, here I am ready to face Biden for debate anytime, any place, anywhere of his choice. So that kind of bravado he projected. So now he is refusing to participate in that 10th of September. So Kamala Harris responded very nicely, very smartly to Trump the other day, saying, "Oh, this the anytime, any place claim has come down to now my place and my time." Is that indication of confident president nominee, or is that a
But is she
indication?
Ravi, is she ready to accept this new place and new time?
I don't think she will accept. I don't think she will accept because he has no reason to do that. Because that will
Hmm.
actually show up as if she's succumbing to Trump pressure. Okay, so I don't think she will accept that. In fact, she has decided to go ahead and be there in ABC News debate, even if Trump is not there. And she has gone on record in saying that I will be there as promised, and I will present my case to viewers. Now, if Trump doesn't decides not to participate, that is his problem. So
I mean, Ravi, considering this most unpredictable behavior of Trump, maybe considering that his seat will be empty, and in India also we have done it a lot of times on so many channels that if some important guest we invite, and if he remains absent, we show most of the channels they have shown the seat empty. So,
right.
in American democracy and American media, independence of the media, will they be able to do that? And if she remains alone there, then will she be interviewed alone? What is the decorum of American media there?
Yeah. Now, as far as president's debate is concerned, this is there is no precedence to this. I mean, once the debate is decided, both the candidates usually there. There has never been an occasion when this kind of thing has happened. Okay,
Well,
so this is going to be the very first time this kind of situation will be there. Now, as far
well,
as your second part is concerned, whether there will be an empty chair and whether she will go ahead and present her case, yes, that will happen, because in some of the debates on channels over here, there have been cases where representatives of some political parties have not been present and there is an empty chair.
I don't think so. Trump will allow her to do that, because that will send a very bad message. That will send
That's
the
right.
shockwaves as far as the popularity is concerned, and his points are declining as far as favorable votes are concerned. So I think he won't take that sort of risk. Suddenly, he will appear on that occasion and at that place, and he will participate in that. And I think that would be very interesting to
Absolutely.
listen to them what they say and attack on each other. Well, Ravi, we have discussed so many points after the appointment and declaration of the name of the vice presidential candidate of Democratic Party. In next episodes next week, we will be again discussing some more points, line of action, line of strategy. Yeah, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, that just a few some interesting point to what extent the elections and the election strategies work here.
Yeah.
Now, if the uh, Democratic Party strategists, they have gone into details in terms of deciding whether the campaigning should be made using Kamala Harris's first name or it should be
Hmm.
done using last name. Then they have also gone into details of what kind of dress she should wear, what kind of colors she should wear, just to give a different flavor to
Obviously,
our
that
discussions.
there are media advisors and designers and strategists,
Exactly,
everything,
exactly,
everywhere, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, it
exactly,
goes on like that. So
exactly.
but we will keep it to discuss in next episodes how
Yeah.
that campaign takes place, how that will take shape, and in which direction it will march. We'll discuss in next episode. So till that time, thank you, Ravi, for participating in our usual program. Next week we will meet again, and thank you, viewers. Please do watch Max Maharashtra and do watch this specific American elections program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.